Hello, everyone. Welcome to Laser Focus, the deep dive pop culture podcast from Nerdist. I'm Kyle Anderson. Thank you for listening. We're getting dangerously close to the end of 2025, which is very bizarre. This year seemed to have flown by, and yet every day was an eternity. Um, um, but we had some good stuff, movie and TV wise. Looking back on what we've already talked about, and a few of my favorite episodes that we've recorded this year are with our guest today, a
Aw.
returning guest. One of the rotation of recurring guests is our friend Hector Navarro. Hey, bud, how are you?
I'm great, Kyle. Thank you so much for the kind words. Yeah, this year was a lot. And you just said before we started recording that, like, looking at 2026, that you were surprised at how much they're actually, because it feels right now that weird place where, like, we're not super fully aware, all the time of like every movie that's coming out next
Hmm.
year. I think we know vaguely like an Avengers is being worked on, and there's going to be a new Tom Holland Spider-Man. And then you start thinking about it more and you go, okay, and then there's Supergirl, and then there's Clayface,
Right.
and then there's a Lanterns TV show, and then there's this and this and this. So that's exciting. That's
Yeah.
exciting to remind oneself about.
Yeah. And especially because this year seemed like there wasn't that much, but there actually was a lot. So what we're going to do in this episode here is we're going to kind of look back at 2025,
Cool.
and then kind of look forward to 2026. Obviously, you were on for the Fantastic Four episode in July. We talked a little bit about Superman there as well. So those are obviously, I think, the big two. Obviously, it's the one like successful Marvel endeavor, and it was the
Hmm.
one film from DC Studios this year. But we obviously had some other stuff too. So, but before we get into like the TV aspect of it, I do want to kind of point out. So the worldwide box office, according to Box Office Mojo, I just pulled it up. The highest grossing of those movies is Superman, but it's made 616.5 million, a
Yeah.
huge amount of money
Yeah.
but it's still only good for number 7 on the list. Um,
Wow.
Fantastic Four First Steps made just over 520 million. That's number 10. And then Captain America and Thunderbolts are both 12 and 13.
Hmm.
And uh and then I'm trying to look if see if there, and that was it really. Like poor Tron Ares, which is not a comic book movie, but that is sitting there at 130. That's 26th. It made
Oof.
just slightly more money than Ballerina.
Oof. What's the highest grossing movie of this year?
Well, worldwide, it's the Chinese animated film Neja
Oh
2,
yeah. Wild. Yeah. 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 I
but the
think I
highest
saw.
grossing English language film is Lilo and Stitch by a lot.
What?
Yeah.
Of this year, the live action Lilo and Stitch?
Yeah. So the top 5
That's wild.
is Neja 2, Lilo and Stitch, a Minecraft movie, Jurassic World Rebirth, and How to Train Your Dragon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jurassic World even beat out Superman, and that's
F1 beat out Superman.
wow. The
And I'm not
power
saying
of
that was
dad
a bad
movies.
movie, but
The power of dad movies,
I
Kyle.
guess
That's
that,
just,
yeah. Well, and
well,
that's
yeah,
who goes to see these movies now? Like it
sure.
is people with kids because obviously
Mhm.
that's there, and dinosaurs are always going to do well. Like as bad as the Jurassic World movies often are,
Mhm.
and I stopped after Fallen Kingdom. I didn't even bother.
Really? The 6th one where they brought back Sam Neill and everybody was the worst one.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
what I
thought
heard.
I thought Rebirth was
Mhm.
fine, but absolutely should have been much, much better. Um, and I didn't like F1, and I didn't, and I thought
Yeah,
Minecraft was fine. And I think this conversation is also obviously connected to what's the marketing like for all of those
right.
films, what succeeded, what failed. With in the case of Jurassic, you're right that like dinosaurs are always going to do well, but I think it's still surprising that when Jurassic World came back in 2015, that was $1 billion movie.
Yeah,
And just like a lot of franchises, uh, I think that first excitement was there for that first installment. And then as the other ones came out and they weren't quite where they should have been, they didn't make as much money. And I think in the case of Superman, it's also like, well, the audiences have been burned on DC superheroes for the past 10 years in a lot of ways. I love things like Blue Beetle. I thought Birds of Prey was really great from 2020.
mm,
I liked James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, but these are
yeah,
not these big characters, and Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman kind of failed for the past 10 years.
mm,
So much so that they had to do new Batman with Matt Reeves. Um, so I think that's part of that. And I think there's also, I don't know how like tuned into all of this audiences are, especially for superhero movies, but I do think that there is something to, hey, audiences now know that it's going to be on Disney Plus in a month.
Right.
But then you also pointed out that Lilo and Stitch is the highest grossing movie in the theaters this year worldwide. And I'm like, that's number one, a Disney Plus movie. Like, that's absolutely going to be on Disney Plus. So
Yeah.
maybe people just hate superheroes now, Kyle. Maybe superheroes are bad and always have been. And I'm stupid. That's what it is.
That's
I'm
I
dumb.
think that is, and that's what I wanted to get at.
Okay,
This is an
great. Okay.
intervention for you today,
Oof.
and me as I'm sitting here in my superhero full
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
Um, it's I find it fascinating because I think James Gunn was right in saying, and I think it was him, and I'm sure other people have said it too, but I think he was the one who got the big quote about it, which is that there's not superhero fatigue, there's bad movie fatigue, which I think
Right. Yeah.
is true. There's
Mm-hmm.
also like, um, su- you're absolutely right. Like people were burnt out on Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman,
Mm-hmm.
with the
Mm-hmm.
exception of Matt Reeves as the Batman. I think most people
But even
agree.
that, Kyle, but to be fair, even that was not a billion-dollar grossing movie,
No,
right?
that's
Like
true.
it was still, and this was, but it's also like a post-pandemic. That's also another thing that we have to acknowledge is that like
Yeah,
everything post 2020 is a different box office landscape. If this was in 2017, 2018, 2019, Lilo and Stitch would have made even more money. So
yeah.
it's,
When you
yeah,
look at, I just pulled up 2019 at the worldwide box
yeah,
office. Uh, 9 of the top 10 films of that year passed $1 billion.
that's disgusting. That's
Yeah.
insane.
So
Yeah, different,
Jumanji:
different.
The Next Level was number 10 and it made 800 million. Then you have
Holy
Aladdin,
smokes.
that terrible Aladdin
It was
movie
very bad. Yeah,
made a
a
little over a
billion.
billion. Toy Story 4, Rise of Skywalker, Joker 1, Captain
Yeah,
Marvel, Far
yeah.
From Home, Frozen 2, Lion King, and then of course Endgame
Ugh,
made close to $3 billion.
the golden age, the best movies right there. All those movies are the best.
It's all of them. Super great. No one dislikes any of them. Um, but I do find that really interesting that like obviously there was, the pandemic changed the way we watch
Yep,
movies. Now the time between theatrical and home is so
that's
short.
huge. It's such a big problem. I think it really, really is. Yeah.
And people got used to watching big movies at home, and I think that's,
Mm-hmm.
they need, you're a bit obviously a big proponent of 3D and stuff like that, and I
Oh
don't
yeah.
even and people will go out for certain 3D movies. I think
Mm.
Avatar is going to have a fine theatrical life,
Yep.
but it also doesn't have much of a life after theaters. I think
Mm.
I don't know how many people who don't have a 3D TV
Oh sure.
are
Oh
watching
sure.
it at home. You know what I mean?
And
Because it is part of the experience.
yeah, and I'm the nerd that's like, hey, I got to go see Lilo and Stitch in theaters because there's a 3D version, and
Right.
after that leaves theaters, I don't know if I'll ever see that
Right.
version ever exist ever again. Um, thankfully for me, most movies that come out in 3D are movies I was already interested in.
Sure.
So it's great. It's a win-win. But speaking of, by the way, I went to go see Predator in 3D, the new Predator film, and there's a trailer for the new Sam Raimi movie that's coming out in January with Rachel McAdams. It
Yeah.
was in 3D, dude. That
Weird.
movie's coming out in 3D. Oh, it's gonna be awesome. I cannot wait. Sam Raimi,
Yeah.
3D movie. I mean, Oz the Great and Powerful, not great, but his Doctor Strange ripped in 3D. He
Oh,
knows how to
yeah.
do it. He knows how to do it. So
That
go see that movie.
I still think so much of Doctor Strange 2, while an imperfect script, I think visually and like there are so many scenes that I recall so vividly about Doctor Strange 2,
Yes,
and I think most of them are down to Sam Raimi. Obviously, you have like
he's got the
uh
sauce.
the the music note fight, I think is the
Mhm.
standout. Like that is such a cool
So good.
sequence.
So and it's really cool in 3D. So yeah, go
Yeah.
see Sam Raimi's new movie Send Help. When it comes out with Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. It's gonna be awesome. I
Uh,
can't wait. It's like
yeah.
the trailer's like from the director of Drag Me to Hell. I'm like, yeah, dude, this is gonna be
Yeah.
crazy. Anyway, we're not here to talk about
We're
Sam
not here
Raimi
to talk
movies.
about that. Unless we're
Sorry.
talking about his next Marvel movie, which he doesn't
Right.
have one, but
Right.
um we also, so just a little bit, I want to we've talked about the movies, but let's just kind of mention the shows that have come out this last
Mhm.
year. In January on the MCU side, we had Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which I really liked. I don't know if you
I liked it. I did not love it, but very charming show.
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And the animation side, I also really liked. Well, I liked Marvel Zombies this year. Very
Mhm.
fun, but I think I was more. kind of taken what's the phrase? I was like, oh, I
S-
was taken aback by,
Yeah.
really, really swept up by Eyes of Wakanda. I really
Mm.
enjoyed. Short animated series of 4 episodes. What else was animated this year? Creature Commandos was tail end of 2024, so that doesn't
Yes.
count, but it's still kind of the beginning of the DC universe. And then we had, what else TV wise? We had The Penguin, which I thought was stellar. Was that this year or last year?
I
Was that
believe that
also
was
last
last
year?
year.
Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. We had Peacemaker, which just came
Yeah,
out.
Peacemaker was the other one. What it
Mhm.
I had who was on here to talk about Peacemaker? Oh, Jules Green was on to talk about
Great.
Peacemaker a few weeks ago. What did you think of Peacemaker season 2?
I had a blast, but I
Mhm.
also know, again, I kind of tend to watch some of the TV shows differently, and sometimes some of the movies differently than most people. I have a YouTube channel. I did YouTube reaction videos. I'm
Right.
watching them with my 2 friends. We're watching them remotely, like via Zoom. And it is different when I'm not watching a lot of these shows with this sort of like sitting in my living room, really, really analyzing them. It's a little bit more of a popcorn experience. And the twists and turns in that show were great. And we had gotten a chance to see a few of the episodes early, but not all of them.
Mhm.
James Gunn sort of saved the last 3. So it was really fun to have us experience it on our own for the first part of it. Then I'm seeing the internet make the incredible observation of like, there are no black people in this other universe. It
Yeah.
already creeped us out. We were like, wait a minute. And then with that, it was just such a blast to have that revelation. And I thought the ending was very strong. But were there, I mean, it's not my favorite, superhero TV show, and
No.
were there things that I would have done differently? Sure, absolutely, but
I think one of the things that I hit on in our last conversation, but it was like I think it needed 2 more episodes to really like flesh out. I
mm,
think the first 5 that we this is 5, right? Yeah, that
yeah,
we got
5.
from um ahead of time, I thought were really, really strong. I really liked all that stuff. And I do feel like a lot of the end was really rushed or felt really
Mm,
rushed because they were
sure.
trying to set up stuff for the future of the DCU, which is fine. But I do
Mhm.
think that like some of the character stuff suffered a little bit, which is not to say that the scenes between
Oh,
John
great,
Cena and Jennifer Holland are tremendous,
great.
and friggin' Danielle Brooks like
Oh, crushed it,
bringing that Oscar nominated like
crushed
chops
it.
to that finale is like all her basically.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
really, I think that's what it's kind of the most you can ask for a TV show that's like part of a bigger thing. I mean, the same thing with last year's Penguin, that like it's slowly but surely moving along the larger story, but that show delivers some performances that I'm like
yeah.
knocked me on my ass. They're so great. So yeah, what else TV wise was this year that I'm forgetting about?
From there was Ironheart.
Oh, I really enjoyed Ironheart, but I
Yeah.
also like Marvel Zombies also has Riri Williams in it, am frustrated and sad that, like, there's not a season 2 announcement that
No.
comes along with it.
Yeah.
So, it's great that it's there, but I don't wanna wait, 16 years before Marvel Studios picks up this story thread like they did with, like, The Incredible Hulk, and then we had Samuel Stern's, return in Captain America, but not to a degree that I would have loved, bringing back Tim Blake Nelson, who's great. So, yeah, I really like that season, but when you are that daring with a cliffhanger ending, Marvel, are we going to support that? Are we going to, like,
Yeah.
where's that going to go? Is different than a a little stinger in a post credits scene. Oh, here's Hercules in the Thor movie. Okay, I don't know when Hercules is popping up again,
Right.
but I think that's a little bit easier to pick up along with the moving train of the Marvel Studios Marvel Cinematic Universe. This Ironheart season, I'm like, I really need a season 2 and for
Yeah.
it to go into production and for it to come out next year because that's a sharp thrown off of that cliff right there.
Yeah, and that's what sort of has me worried is that a lot of these, especially Ironheart, but like
Mhm.
they did it with Echo last year and everything like that.
Mhm.
w-
Agatha's another one that I'm like,
Agatha, yeah, where it's
Where are
like
we getting this?" Right.
are they were made under a different regime at Disney,
Sure.
with the intent of like putting a ton of stuff on. We actually recently talked about this with Doctor Who and how Disney decided not to pick up Doctor Who, and people were like, why did they pick it up in the first place? It's
Right.
because they were
Just
like, we
different
want
regime.
everything. We want everyone
Yeah.
to come to our
Yeah.
site. And now it's not that way anymore. They don't
Yeah.
really, they're not prioritizing it in that way. I am excited that they're making Daredevil Born Again season 2,
Yep.
which obviously season 1 came out this year as well.
Mhm.
Um, how
X-Men is coming out next year. X-Men
X-Men is coming out
97
next
season
year.
2.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So there's stuff that I'm excited about, and actually we'll get into some of that other stuff as well. So
Mhm.
let's before we get into 2026 and we'll like go through all the different Marvel and DC properties and stuff like that.
Sure.
uh, We've been covering these movies, that these I won't say franchises, but movies based on the big two comic works for a long time, you and
Yeah. Yeah.
I. What how did this year leave you basically like?
Um, Overall good, and I think my favorite, I think the standout was Superman
For
because I
sure.
think that it had sort of the most bite to it and the most that my, mid to late 30s brain can kind of appreciate. But I also wanted, talking about the TV shows, I want to go back for a second to just talk about
Sure.
Thunderbolts because
Yeah.
it was a welcome surprise. And I think it was so great to see a bunch of those actors that I think are great and were frankly kind of underutilized with previous installments of the MCU. Um, Being a comic book fan, I didn't think my brain didn't go to, well, this is what Thunderbolts should be in a movie. I would have done I would have done the Baron
Sure.
Zemo reveal. I would have done Citizen V. I would have done that kind of late '90s, early 2000s concept. And I guess in a way they did because that opening weekend was Thunderbolts, and then the Monday following was it's actually the new Avengers, and that was a real fun reveal within the
Right.
movie. But um, I liked the notion of like, okay, the MCU is so expansive and we have so many characters. What if we took a character who she hasn't had her own movie? But she was in Black Widow, and then we took her the dad character. And then what if we took also Taskmaster from that movie? And then we have over here, Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, who we haven't seen for years. And then we've got Wyatt Russell's character from the TV show Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We'll pick up Bucky from that and introducing a new character, Bob Reynolds. All of that stuff is great as a way to almost wrap up the little bow on some of these characters and some of these potential storyline like threads that were left, unresolved, especially with like US Agent and working for Valentina. I don't know if I necessarily want the MCU to kind of do that because there is an element to me where I mean, look, it was a great movie, it's a great story. I'm curious about like the the genesis of it where like did a writer come in and go, hey, I want to use these characters, or was it them, Marvel Studios, the producers, looking at everything and going, god, we really need to check some of these off, like what can we do, and without doing another season of the Falcon in the Winter Soldier because that's a mini series clearly, and without doing, well, we can't give Florence Pugh a TV show, she's a movie star.
Right.
Well, we can't do, when are we going to see the Ghost again? We're not going to use her as the villain or hero in Ant-Man 3. We're not going to use her as, an Iron Man villain or whatever. Um I don't I'm hoping that all the stuff we talked about earlier with like the TV show dangling threads, Ironheart or Agatha, she's now a ghost, Agatha Harkness, and looking for Wanda's other kid, and maybe that'll carry over into Vision Quest, and I think it will, but like is Agatha going to be in that show? Like is she, um I don't know if I want Marvel Studios to necessarily use like a big, almost like a melting pot movie to knock some of this stuff out. I think
Yeah.
I love a new, and Agatha's a great example, a new fresh idea that I didn't see coming.
Sure.
Catherine Hahn is hilarious as that character, brilliant. And for them to go, let's greenlight a spinoff with her because what a breakout character. Great. You should be doing that. I mean, I know we've talked about this before, Kyle, but I love that 50% ratio of like 50% do what the comics are and 50% new stuff, new interesting stuff, new like how Okoye hasn't had a spin-off movie or TV show up to this
Yeah.
point. Do you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
these characters that pop, we should be following that because they're so great. But maybe what I'm saying is what they did, and maybe the Thunderbolts is the new 50%, whereas the standard 50% is like Sam Wilson is Captain America this year. Daredevil is coming back, right? The Fantastic Four is a period piece set in the 60s, kind of. That really is all from the comics. So maybe I'm weirdly bringing up a concern that isn't there, and I should shut up. And maybe going forward, that is what Marvel Studios is looking at and is doing. Who knows? Maybe I'm just a selfish fan. Maybe I just want more She-Hulk, Kyle. That's really what it is. I'm wearing my
Yeah.
She-Hulk shirt. I'm wearing my She-Hulk shirt. That's
I
what I want.
I love a She-Hulk. I thought that it was that series was great.
One of my favorites. Yeah.
I love Tatiana Maslany.
Yeah. She's awesome.
Yeah, go see Keeper.
Dude, I'm excited because I just saw Longlegs for the first time. So
Oh,
I'm like, I don't know, it's gonna mess me up. And I saw it in the comfort of my own home and where I could
right.
press pause and immediately play Mickey Mouse Clubhouse if it got too scary. I can't do that in the theater, Kyle. I can't
No,
do that in the
you
theater.
sure can't.
So, but for Tatiana, I might go. I think me and Abby might go see. I'm curious, man. Osgood, he's got a messed up mind, but
I mean, by the
yeah,
time this comes out, the embargo will have dropped, but I'm not gonna give
yeah.
any spoilers, but I got to
Okay,
see Keeper and
okay. Yeah? Good,
big
okay.
big
All right, all
fan.
right, all right,
I'm
all right.
nodding emphatically. I really
Good, good, good.
enjoyed it.
Moved to the top of my list. Very good.
Yes.
Okay, great, great.
It's scary. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
tell you it's not scary, but, um,
Okay,
it's and she's incredible in it, so,
I know. She's such a good actor. It's
yeah.
crazy. Anyways, all right.
Anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I feel like I agree with you, and I think, we'll talk about a little about my concerns with the MCU currently, which is that there's a sort of Damocles sort of hanging over the entire thing, which is Doomsday, and whether or not that works,
Right.
is gonna tell a lot about what happens going forward.
Mhm.
Um, but let's start with DC just because they don't actually have as much next year.
Cool.
So we have in early 2026, they're saying I'm gonna guess probably late January, early February. That's gonna be my guess. We will have lanterns, which I think we've talked about before, but I'm very very excited for lanterns.
Same.
Um, I have a feeling it's going to be um it's gonna do. I mean, they're talking a lot about doing justice to the Lantern universe while telling
Mhm.
this kind of darker story, and I think that's cool.
Mhm.
And I really trust the people involved. I think, I didn't think anybody could do a Watchmen sequel and make it good, and yet
Oh,
Lindelof
man.
did, and it's
Oh,
really
man.
good.
Yeah.
And so I kind of feel like, okay, I will let him do. And then we have Tom King involved, and obviously he knows the DC universe like
Yeah.
crazy. So
Love that about DC Studios is that James Gunn and company are, like, bringing on comic book people
yeah,
sometimes to do the
yeah,
stuff. And, yeah, Lanterns looks great. That image with John and Hal looks like, oh, they just walked off of a comic book page and I love seeing the fan speculation where it's like, is this what's that hard traveling heroes storyline where it was instead of John Stewart, it was Hal Jordan and Oliver Queen Green Arrow.
right.
Like trekking across the US, like having that kind of political and current vibe is very cool and very ambitious to do with Green Lantern, and it's a great way to ground. I mean, they're like Lindelof and company are just doing the same thing that DC Comics did, where they're like, you know what, Hal's getting a little away from us. Let's kind of reset a bit in the '70s and use this character to tackle some social issues and to which is what comic books should be doing all the time.
Yeah.
So, I'm very very excited about it, and I think it's cool that I remember when I did the press junket for Superman for Nerdist, thanks again, Nerdist, that like asking David Cornsweet, what are you most excited about in the future? And he said, for my character to appear in like other tones. And he didn't give it away, but it's like, yeah, that's what Lex Luthor was in Peacemaker. He showed
Hmm.
up and dropped an F bomb. And I was
Right.
like, this fits surprisingly well. This PG
Yeah.
13 character, even though he shot a guy in the head in Superman, you know what I mean? Like from that world, from that tone. So I wonder how the Lantern's tone is going to sort of be, and whether or not it's really gonna. I mean, that and Supergirl next year
Hmm.
are truly the ultimate test if this whole thing is going to work. Because I like James Gunn, you like James Gunn. I think most people like James Gunn, but I don't know if an entire cinematic universe can be his same sensibilities always,
I think that's
right?
exactly, and that might be why after all of 2025, basically,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's all been James Gunn, and
Yeah.
it's sort of like I think by the end of Peacemaker, that's sort of where I'm like, okay, he's
Okay.
just
New tone. New
I
tone,
need a new
right?
tone, and I think
Yeah.
here, yeah, like Lanterns is going to be a huge test, and
Mhm.
then Supergirl, like I think basing it on Supergirl specifically, basing it on a really compelling narrative from a
So
very
good.
standalone comic
Yeah.
and kind of bringing in, obviously Lobo's not in the comic, but that's a cool addition and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's very space cosmic and stuff like that. And then you have Anna Noguera writing and Craig
Mhm.
Gillespie directing. So and both of them have very different like tones and
Mhm.
styles to their films and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that is really exciting to me. Um, I think Supergirl is the thing that I'm the most excited about
For
uh
DC next year?
for DC. I mean, it's a toss up.
Yeah,
I love the Green Lantern. I think we've talked about this before too, but like
yeah.
Green Lanterns is what got me back into comics as a grown up. Like the Jeff
Ooh,
Johns
really?
run. Like I
Wow.
loved Rebirth Forward. Like I
Yeah.
was reading. You know, weirdly enough, actually, I was reading Green Arrow. Like Quiver, I think is what
Yep,
I was because of the Kevin Smith angle, and I just kept
yep.
reading Green Arrow. But I really liked how in the first, volume or whatever of Green Arrow, like he talks to Hal Jordan, who was the Spectre at the time, and it was just
Yeah,
like, oh,
that was
that's cool.
cool.
And then bringing him back, and then in his story, you see Ghost Barry Allen, and then eventually Barry Allen came back, and so I enjoyed that kind of aspect and getting back into. So basically, from Green Lantern
Mhm.
Rebirth through Blackest Night, I was like the most, and then
Yeah.
I got annoyed that there was Brightest Day right afterwards. I'm like, come on, give me a moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be, when you look at the largest possible picture of the DC universe stories, and you're tasked with like, okay, what is their Avengers Endgame? What's the thing that could be their final boss? Something to assemble a bunch of characters together. There are, like, kind of a handful of characters or storylines or concepts, and now we know Darkseid is sort of out because
Hmm.
James Gunn said, he goes, "We're not doing Darkseid because it was sort of recently done with the DC Extended Universe in a way, kind of, and that, Marvel did Thanos, and it's a very similar character." And I think my brain went immediately to Darkseid anytime a DC universe is talked about because I mean, I was raised on the DC animated universe.
Sure.
I know that in comic books when Darkseid shows up, that's it.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
the final
Final
boss,
Crisis, like that is,
final crisis. Yeah.
yeah,
It wasn't second to last crisis, it was called
right.
Final Crisis.
Yeah.
So, but when you look at everything else and you go, "Okay, if it's not Darkseid, what is it?" You can do worse than like the entire Green Lantern mythos. You can do worse than like, what if we are building towards a Blackest Night and like
Mhm.
Necron or or Sinestro and the Yellow Lantern Corps, the core that is based around fear and like how that can affect all of the rest of the DC superhero characters. And it won't have the same, obviously, the same sort of when you were reading those comic books, like part of that storyline was like, hey, any character that died and has come back to life, like Green Arrow technically, or Superman technically, or whatever, they're going to be cool zombies, and they're going to be zombified, and they're going to be, a Black Lantern member. Not going to be able to do that, but you might be able to, if you take your time with it and take 10 years, might be able to weave in enough story in the DC universe that when you get to something big and epic and cosmic like a Green Lantern storyline, that it will have that same impact. So,
Yeah.
and this could be the beginning of that. But then again, we're getting a Jimmy Olsen show. Will the Fourth World and Apocalypse show up there? Will
Right. When there's gonna be
it's their
a
salvation is part of it now? So it's like, what is that?
yeah.
I just read that comic for the first time just a few weeks ago, based off of like the finale of Peacemaker,
Mhm.
and I was like sitting down, like, all right, here we go. This is going to be great. I didn't love it. I'm like,
No,
I
no,
don't
no.
know. This is just all character work. It's just Joker versus Lex Luthor on a
Yeah.
kind of deserted planet was the main, 7-issue story arc. But that also all factored into like stuff that was happening in DC Comics at the
Right.
time. So it's all very interesting and really fun to speculate. But yeah, it could all start with lanterns, and that could be great. But Supergirl is going to be the big theatrical test. Will
Yeah.
audiences will the success of Superman actually boost a Supergirl, theatrical attendance? I hope so. She deserves it. The whole thing deserves it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And Clayface too, rated R Clayface. Flanagan
Yeah.
coming in and pitching it, and James Gunn going, pivot, we should do that. That's really cool too. That's very
I'm a
exciting.
big fan of when they initially announced the slate of Gods and Monsters, there were a lot of things I was really excited about, a lot of things I was I wouldn't say confused about, but sort of like, "Oh, that's an interesting choice."
Right.
And I like that he's being like, "Well, this didn't really work," or whatever. Like he
Mm,
said, the Authority is kind of on the back burner because like
yeah.
they haven't figured out what to do with it in a world where a show like The Boys and
Yeah.
Invincible exist. It's like, how do you
Yeah.
kind of do the same thing
Yeah.
um as these other shows? And I understand that. I think there's a way to weave the Authority in, but maybe making an Authority movie standalone, maybe not the way to do it.
Yeah.
And then
I,
also
I hear
like
that. Yeah.
the the Paradise Lost, Themyscira show,
Right.
they're sort of moving that around or figuring out a way, and they're prioritizing a Wonder Woman movie now again. I think that's another smart kind of move
Mm.
eventually. Um, but yeah, Clayface, I think one of the things I'm really excited about with Clayface is that, first of all, yes, complete tonal change. I think
Mhm.
that's super fun and awesome. But
Mhm.
the other really awesome thing is that this will be our first chance to see live action DCU Gotham City.
Right.
So even if no other like characters show up, we at least get
Yeah.
to see, because I
Yep.
thought the way that Metropolis was done in Superman was really cool. And I'm like, okay, cool. I like to see what this city,
Yes.
this huge, one of the big two cities in DC Comics, what does it look like?
Yes.
So now I'm excited to see what
And
Gotham City looks like.
what a challenge, because it's like, that whoever's doing that or whoever did that, production design, whatever, it's like,
Mhm.
okay, it can't be Tim Burton
Right.
or Joe Schumacher Gotham. It can't be Christopher Nolan, very clean Chicago,
Right.
like modern, like the movie Heat
Right.
Gotham. It can't be Metropolis. It
Right.
can't even be Matt Reeves by way of David Fincher Gotham, where it's
Mhm.
always raining and it's always, emo. Like it's like, dang, dude, what can you do? And we saw glimpses of it in Creature Commandos
Mhm.
with Phosphorus, Dr. Phosphorus, and a little Batman silhouette and sort of
Yeah.
the underworld, and it had red skies, and so you're like, are they gonna like, is this what that's gonna be? But maybe it didn't have enough of a stylistic like difference to the rest of Creature Commandos, which was very heightened, exaggerated. It's an animated world, it's an
Yeah.
animated show. But yeah, dude, you're right, very exciting. And man, oh man, if there was like an E.L. O'Brien cameo in that Clayface movie, oh my God, I would lose my mind. That's Plastic Man for everybody listening before he became Plastic
Before
Man.
he became Plastic Man.
Yeah, that'd
The
be
only
great.
people we know who are in the movie at all
Yeah.
so far, obviously we have Tom Reese Harries who's playing Matt Hagen.
Mhm.
Naomi Ackie is playing Dr. Caitlin Bates, a fringe scientist,
Great.
who is the one kind of manufacturing the Clayface. And then
Mhm.
um, Max Minghella is playing a Gotham City detective. And then
Interesting.
Eddie Marzan is cast as an undisclosed role. So,
Mm. God, could he be the Penguin? Could he be the Penguin? Yeah, could he be Cobblepot? I don't know.
yeah.
He'd be a great Cobblepot
But I
with
think
his
there's
British accent.
if the yeah, I think that's one of my favorite aspects of certain, the Arkham verse, honestly, of
Yes.
Penguin is the fact that he's a Cockney like,
Mhm.
gangster who just he's Bob Hoskins basically who just showed up
Mhm.
in
Ah,
Gotham
great.
City. Um but yeah, like the mind kind of reels like what, could Commissioner Gordon be a character?
Mhm.
Like could, there are all these characters that could be in it and they haven't really told us anything about it. It's literally coming out in less than a year.
Yeah,
So like,
but it's exciting in a way.
yeah,
I don't wanna know every single thing
me
about it,
neither.
and again, as comic book fans and lovers and experts of some of these universes, I think that sometimes we not that it necessarily gets in my way of enjoying a movie, but I think that it can sometimes take away some of the fun. I
Hmm.
didn't know where Thunderbolts was going.
No.
I like to see stuff that I might not know exactly which way it's gonna go. Um Speaking of having the mind reel, I was thinking about this before hopping on with you this morning, Kyle. As we maybe transition into Marvel, I want to do a connective thread here.
Just do it.
Something that I think really got me this year after Superman came out was I saw fan art of somebody taking that classic image and superimposing David Cornsweat Superman standing there with sort of arms crossed, and then behind him, sort of back to back, was Tom Holland Spider Man
Mm,
from that iconic image of like those two characters standing sort of shoulder to shoulder or back to back from the first time they did a crossover in comics, or maybe the second time. I can't remember exactly. I know that the first cover of is that like iconic image where Spidey's up on the tower and Superman sort of flying in a little swoop around him. But seeing those two versions of the character in live action started to make me think, oh my God, the guy running DC was a Marvel guy. He seems very friendly with the people that are at Marvel
mhm,
Studios, at least the head honchos, Feige and everybody. Um, these characters are in a place right now where I'm like, they've kind of never been better in live action films, or at
mm,
least have not been this good since, geez, Christopher Reeve or, Tobey Maguire or whatever.
right.
And if it were to ever happen, Kyle, if a Marvel DC crossover were to ever happen, I don't think it would be a universe wide. I don't think DC would ever get to a point where they'd be ready to sustain that. versus all the characters that Marvel has. Does that make sense? Like
Mhm.
when you think about like a Marvel DC, like the Avengers versus they don't even have a Justice League yet. So I'm like, I
Right.
can't see like Guy Gardner and Hawk Girl stepping up to like, here's Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Spider-Man, Black Panther, all these Hulk, all these characters. Um, but I can see a Spider-Man Superman movie, maybe.
Mhm.
Or I started thinking about it this morning and going, damn, if it were to happen, it might happen in something like Avengers Secret Wars, not next year, but the year after, where in some kind of a multiversal, we're done with the multiverse, but what if on our way out, there's a nod to like the Marvel universe somehow intersects with or pops over a Tom Holland Spider-Man as he's going through the multiverse, maybe looking for heroes to help with the fight, whatever. And they land in Metropolis and there's David Cornsweet Superman in a Marvel movie. Like in the same way we saw the Disney owned Lego Han Solo Chewbacca Millennium Falcon in the Lego movie, which was a Warner Brothers, like that's
Right.
all Warner Brothers IP, but they got the ability to do Star Wars for a quick second.
Mhm.
I'm like, dude, it could happen. Just a little acknowledgement, just David Cornsweet landing, a little exchange or whatever. And then I'm busy. I have to, whatever. And it would like break the internet and that theater that you're watching it would break it. And if they could
Yeah.
do something like that, hold on to it like a secret, that would be wild. And I just it just got me thinking about like the state of each of these franchises in terms of like who's running them. Because to be honest, man, this is I think that as a fan, I wanted the DC extended universe before it was even called that with Man of Steel and beyond to be that successful. I wanted DC to always be as good as Marvel. And I
Mhm.
think that after a couple of DC EU movies, I was like, I don't want to have murdering Batman, Ben Affleck, like meet Chris Evans, Captain America. They would not
No,
get
absolutely
along.
not.
I can't,
No.
and I know in JLA Avengers, like they spar, they fight a little bit, but Cap and Bats are like, let's go solve this case.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. So now I'm like, dang, man, I think if it were to happen, it would be those two. If it were to happen, it would be now or soon or, in this version of these realities. Will Marvel be rebooted? I hope not. Will DC be rebooted? I don't know, man. Warner Brothers is maybe trying to get itself sold. So that kind of stuff is up in the air. But yeah, I got very excited about that. So, question for you to speculate a bit, and then we can jump into Marvel crossover. Do you think it will ever happen at any serious level?
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but there was I don't know how far it got, but an
Yeah.
initial idea for the finale of Peacemaker was to have Deadpool show up in it.
No way. Are you serious? Hang
Yeah.
on. Are you sure that's not just what do you mean?
No,
What
James
how am
Gunn
I
said it. Hang on. James
really?
Gunn,
That's
Deadpool,
hilarious, dude. That actually
Peacemaker.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Peacemaker Deadpool? Yeah, that's a movie I'd watch.
He
Yeah, that
said he
could
talked to Ryan Reynolds about it.
no
Um,
way. That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, they text
Um,
each other. They're buds. They text each
yeah.
other. Why not?
About when they're going from door to door in the
Oh my
pocket
god.
dimension, and that they just open one and there's just Deadpool, and it's just like that would work for that
Mhm.
perfectly. And so
Mhm.
he's obviously not opposed to doing stuff like that. I think the only thing that keeps those things from happening is money. Like it's
Sure.
just
Sure.
we don't want to mess up our and I think if anybody can sustain it. So I have two ideas. I think Spider-Man, which would have to
Superman.
bring Sony into it, obviously, but
Sure. Unless it's an
Spider-Man,
Avengers movie. Unless it's an Avengers
right.
movie, but go ahead. Yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah.
Spider-Man, Superman work really well together. I think that would be
Yep.
really fun. They could also do something like at this point, neither of them exist in the current continuity, but like the comics, Teen Titans, X-Men. Like they could do
Mm.
something like that, which is sort of
Wow.
which was the I mean, both of those in the 80s saved their respective
Yeah.
comic. Those were the number one
And
books
let me tell
somehow.
you, we can talk a bit about it's not gonna be next year, but, unless we're talking about Doomsday, but I am very excited and super nervous about the X-Men proper, like,
Mhm.
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but
Me too.
the way you just described it, where like if Marvel Studios really treats those characters like, hey, this is our next focus, the
Right.
way that Iron Man and the Avengers have been the focus for now coming up on 20 years,
Yeah.
if they really go, this is the mutants' time, this is the X-Men's time, and we love these characters as much as we love Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, T'Challa, Bruce Banner, and so on, that kind of focus could be the, oh, audiences want to see them. do a
Right.
crossover. And then if DC does the same thing where they're like, look, man, the Justice League are the Justice League. All these characters are great, but really the Teen Titans are special.
Right.
And we're going to do the Teen Titans proper. And we're going to do, the ones you love, but also Raven and Starfire and Cyborg and Beast Boy. That and Nightwing. And that would be so sick.
Well, and
If
it's also a
both of
really
those were kind of parallel, if both
yeah,
of those were parallel in a way, yeah,
yeah.
that'd be great.
That was and Eric Diaz has written a big extensive like history of that
Of course,
crossover.
Eric has. Of course.
That was I mean, and he rightfully points out that like if not for X-Men, specifically the Claremont run, and if
Yep.
not for Wolfman and Perez's Teen Titans, New Teen
Yep.
Titans, DC and Marvel would have not lasted because those far and away became the best-selling books. Like even especially on the Marvel side, outselling Spider-Man for a good chunk of
Mhm.
time. It was just everybody's favorite comic. And then the fact that they did cross over was a huge spike in both
Mhm.
sales and everything like that. And fittingly, who is the villain of that?
Darkseid.
It's Darkseid. So
Yeah.
like eventually they
Yeah.
might get to that point where they cross those two
Be
over.
great.
So
And then even just like comic book history for a second, Jim Lee really got his start on X-Men.
right.
His X-Men #1 is still one of, if not the highest selling comic books of
Yeah.
all time.
Single issue, yeah.
And now he's running DC Comics. So you go and Deadpool and Batman just came out. And I think they're
Mhm.
doing a part 2.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
are.
like, yeah, they're kind of chatting. So if something like that were to ever happen, James Gunn and Jim Lee would be like, "Hell yeah, let's do it."
Yeah.
So
When it's also
cool.
like and it's not something I want to happen all the time. So like that was
Sure.
one of the big things when it was sort of like, could Disney buy Warner Brothers? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want
No,
that
I
to
don't.
be. I like that they
I
have
don't want
separate.
anybody to buy anybody, Kyle. I just
I don't
want
want anybody to be. Yeah,
That's it.
I don't want Paramount to buy, continue to buy
Yeah.
people. Like it's whatever. But um,
I would not mind, however, if Sony somehow lost the rights. I don't know. Like, I don't want anybody out of a job. But
no.
if the Sony Spider-Man stuff could stop, or if there were people at Sony that were fine with, hey, we're gonna let Disney take the reins on this creatively.
Well, it's sort of the
I don't know.
Incredible Hulk. Like they still
Yeah.
retain the Universal still retains a lot of the like producerial like rights over
Sure.
the
Sure.
character, but they don't care. They license it
Yeah.
out basically.
I know.
Just
I
give
know.
us some of the money that from these movies and we're fine. Like
Yeah. Yeah, it would
but
be great.
I think Amy Pascal would have to like cede control, and I don't
I
know if
know.
she's prepared to do that. But
Or
yeah,
they would have to settle for like, but we'll do all the animated Spider-Man stuff ourselves.
right.
And because even that they couldn't just do because they're like, oh, we're doing a live action Nicolas Cage Spider Noir show. I think that's also coming out next year.
Yeah, it is.
That's going to be wild, Kyle. I have no idea what to expect. In
I
that.
don't know.
I mean, yeah,
And I'm okay with that. I like the weird, like, I mean, obviously Marvel doesn't have Elseworlds, but the kind
Sure.
of what if, I actually really don't like the what if series, but
sure. The concept.
the concept of just
It
going
looks-
like, well,
it
this is
looks
in a
very-
different universe
yeah,
or whatever. Like,
It looks very Sin City. That's a
Yep.
cool looking movie. So
Yep.
that's going to be interesting. But anyway, okay,
Yeah.
it could
So-
happen.
could
That's
happen.
Great pitches. Did we do your second pitch, Kyle, or like you said, you had 2 thoughts or 2 ideas? We talked
well,
about
my the first one was agreeing with you on Superman,
Superman,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Okay, I just
I-
think those 2 actors are so damn charming.
Yeah.
That to see them together, I'm like, I kind of want to see Corn Sweat interact with Tom Holland
Yeah.
more than any. I don't want to have any Marvel character be mean to him. I
No.
just want Peter Parker to be really nice and for them to out nice each other. That's what I want. Can you imagine if it was like John Bernthal Punisher or something? I'm like, no. Sorry, that's
No.
not our universe. That's not.
I mean, we'll talk
Yeah.
about it, but like, I still think it's weird that John Bernthal Punisher is going to be in a Spider-Man movie. I just like,
I do too, but I also am like, that's something that I think my brain has wanted since he popped up in Daredevil season 2.
sure.
Just because of the dumb comic book history of like, well, the Punisher first appeared in a Spider-Man comic. Yeah, man, but then tonally has never worked with the rest
Right.
of the Spider-Man thing. So I'm down for that fun inclusion, but I hope it's not like Frank Castle is like the main antagonist. Frank Castle is like the main story driving point of this Peter Parker adventure. No, I think that it will hopefully be something like Doctor Strange was in the last Spider-Man movie
Mhm.
and kind of perfectly utilized. He took a break for a little bit. He came back in the end, and it's like, but it's not a Doctor Strange movie.
No.
He's just, that's a great Marvel version of what we're talking about, which is this interconnectivity, connectedness, being able to utilize different characters and concepts when you want. Peter Parker can just go to Greenwich Village and there's the Sanctum Sanctorum. Great. Why wouldn't he try to ask his magician friend to help solve a problem?
Right.
That's great. And then
Yeah.
it blows up in his face. And then that's the movie. So yeah, I want Spider-Man to, same with also Daredevil. I'm still, fingers crossed, hoping that he's in the movie, that Vincent D'Onofrio, the mayor, has a cameo, that like something about that is more connected than we've been allowed to kind of see so far.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't want Punisher to be the main tone and Peter has to work around that. No.
No,
It's a Peter Parker movie. It's a
it's a Peter
Spider-Man
Parker
movie.
movie. Um,
Please. Same with
so
Hulk being in it. I'm like, cool, super cool. Love Ruffalo. If he's in it, are the rumors true that he's going to be this rampaging Hulk, this thing that I think fans have been kind of complaining about for years, where it's like, he's too soft. He should be the strongest, Okay, here's the strongest. Here's what he is. How is that going to factor into the story? I don't know. I'm excited. I think I trust it all. I think they know what they're doing, especially coming off of Spider-Man No Way Home. But I don't
but
want it
that's
to be a Hulk movie. You know what I
right,
mean?
and that's always been
Yeah,
kind of my big issue with the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, because I think
they
the
get
the f-
taken over by
they
the
get
other
taken over
elements.
by the other
Sure,
characters, and
sure.
like, because even No Way Home, it basically gets taken over by the other Spider-Mans,
Yeah,
like, and
it
all
does.
the
Yeah.
villains and everything like that. It's just sort of
Yeah,
like, hey, look, remember these? Like, it's all over, and like, you're right. Like, Doctor Strange is really well utilized, but it's like it couldn't have been a Doctor Strange movie because it's a Tobey Maguire, it's a
sure.
it's a Willem Dafoe movie. Honestly, like,
I think you're absolutely right, and I think that that's a fair criticism, even going back to Spider-Man: Homecoming, with like
right,
Tony Stark is in this, or Nick Fury's in the second one, or whatever. But I feel like maybe by the third one they really nailed it because they're hearing everybody, but they're still going, we want to provide that comic book fun,
sure,
but it needs to be a Peter Parker. He needs to lose. He needs to not
right.
succeed in this. And boy, howdy does he. And I think that losing May was the thing that stuff still works so well for me. And the fact that it's Goblin, Norman Osborn from another
Yeah,
universe, like all that stuff is
it all
icing on the
really
cake,
worked.
but
I
it
agree
all
with
really
that.
worked. So I am hoping, yes, you're right. I'm hoping that these other elements don't take over and that it still kind of delivers on the promise of the last one where it's like Peter's in New York by himself, getting his GED. Nobody knows who he is. He goes to see MJ and decides not to.
Hmm.
And are we going to have a new romance? Are we going to have, MJ and Ned be a part of the story? And there's just so much potential for classic Peter Parker storytelling. And I,
Yeah.
and I want to see that. But yeah, I also want to see the Punisher fight him, and I also want to see the Hulk. But no, not too much, not too much.
Yeah.
Feed my fish, not too much. That's what I want. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming you played the PlayStation Spider-Man
No,
games.
I have not. With the
Okay.
great Yuri Lowenthal, who
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but, and I've seen clips of all the amazing cutscenes and the moments where Aunt May like reveals again from classic '90s comics that she knows. Like that is the good stuff, dude. That's the
Yeah.
sweet stuff right there. And yeah, I want
And
to see a bunch of Spider-Man villains as well. I know the
yeah,
games provide that too.
and that's, I mean, because the
Yeah,
games are very, very long, and obviously
yes,
there's lots of room for that kind of thing. But that's why I really, especially the first game, I think really knocked me out, because New York is a fully playable area.
yeah, yep,
You can swing around and see, well, Avengers Tower is like obviously in
sweet.
the skyline all the time. You can find the Sanctum Sanctorum. You can
Yep,
find all that stuff
the
there.
Baxter Building, Nelson and
And it's all
Murdoch. Yeah,
relatively there in terms of like where it ought to be in relation to everything else, which is cool. And the fact that there are, like kind of set pieces, like chunks of the different, villains and stuff like that. So I really like, obviously I think we skipped over a little bit, but like to get to Brand New Day, like not only are those Punisher and Hulk in it, but like Matt Gargan's supposed to come back, which is
oh,
like,
great.
I'm excited about that. Also, they cast
Yes.
Marvin Jones III as Lonnie Lincoln slash Tombstone. It's like
Yes.
awesome.
Very yeah, very interesting. And then also the amazing actor from Severance is in it.
Yeah, Tremel Tillman, which I am hoping
Ooh.
maybe based on what they've done with Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, what if
Mhm.
he is Norman Osborn? I think that would
I
be great.
I think it would be 10 out of 10.
Yep.
I also think Coleman Domingo himself, who voices Norman,
Honestly, he should
right?
just do it.
Like
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
in live action would be 10 out of 10. Like I
Yeah.
thought about that too, and I'm like, man, either one of those guys would just crush it, knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
But I definitely love the angle of like African American Norman Osborn. So we're going to get a black Harry Osborn. We're going to get, what does that mean for this character? What does that mean for New
Yeah.
York? What does that mean for Green Goblin? What does that mean for Dark Avengers? What does it mean for Iron
Yeah.
Patriot? All of that great stuff. But I think it's time, because we're past that, and Avengers Doomsday are probably the things I'm most looking forward to next year.
Mhm.
Can't wait for Daredevil. It's going to be great. Season 2, I'm hoping. Christian Ritter's coming back. I hope Mike Coulter, Luke Cage is back. I
Me
hope
too.
they find a way to even acknowledge the Finn Jones Iron Fist, but more so than that, the Jessica Henwick,
Uh,
Colleen Wing.
Colleen Wing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And the actress who played, I think it's Simone Missick, plays Misty Knight.
Mhm.
Those two characters, the Daughters of the Dragon, love them so much. But I think Spider-Man and Doomsday are going to be movies to me that are like signaling the end of the multiverse saga, or at
Mhm.
least the beginning of wrapping that up. And Spider-Man No Way Home, as fun as it was and great as it was to see Alfred Molina, Willem Dafoe, and Jamie Foxx all interacting on set, and then you hear the voices of the Lizard and the Sandman and everything. Um, I think that's great, but I do want to see the MCU's version of. I love their version of Adrian Toomes. I love their version of
Mm.
Quentin Beck. I want to see the MCU's Norman Osborn, Otto Octavius, or is it Olivia? Are we going to copy
S
Spider-Verse and do a live action,
Yeah.
Octopus, Lady Octopus, Doctor Octopus? I just want to see the MCU tackle some of these top tier Spider-Man villains. And I think Spider-Man, because of the previous movies and now because of the opportunity of the multiverse and the opportunity of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming back for a bit, and also like Tom Hardy being Venom and Sony being like, we'll plug him in there. It's like, dang it, the MCU can't do its own Eddie Brock.
Right.
The MCU can't do its own version of the symbiotes with its own like null out in space somewhere, because you cast Andy Serkis to do the voice for a weird cameo in the third Venom movie, and we have to wait on that. We got to pause on that. But that time is wrapping up, and I am so excited for the MCU to do that and to do its X-Men, like I said. And I think Doomsday is going to be similar to Deadpool and Wolverine, the last celebration of Hugh Jackman Wolverine.
Man,
Of
they've been celebrating the end of
They
that
have,
universe for such a long
they
time.
have, and it's going to be, because comic books are different, where we can read Secret Wars, and even if you have never read a comic book from another Marvel universe, but that universe like snuffs out and crashes, you have the context of, oh no, I know those characters, kind of.
Mhm.
I know a version of those characters. Oh my gosh, no, no, no. And even with the comic book Secret Wars, it came out in 2015. The last two remaining universes were the two most popular. It was the main one, and then it was the Ultimate Universe with Miles Morales, because you have to have those emotional stakes. And I've heard from fans, well, good. Well, I'm glad Fantastic Four it's in its own universe, because we have to give a shit about other universes. Otherwise, this whole thing isn't going to work,
Yeah.
And I think a great shortcut, even though those movies have a bunch of baggage, I get it, is like, just use the Fox X-Men universe. People like that. Mostly. So,
Yeah.
yes, it's a constant it's now been like a 10-year long celebration of like, how much we love those actors, but it is also cool that like Alan Cumming is back. It is also cool that Ian McKellen is going to be Magneto, and he's going to wear the suit. And I think that it out of all of the stuff next year, Doomsday has the biggest like, hurdles to overcome, the biggest pressure on it, but also has the opportunity to sort of knock it out of the park the most. Because I go back to Infinity War. I'm going back, Kyle, to like phases 1, 2, and 3, where every single time Thanos showed up, comic book nerds like us and the internet and regular audiences were like, this guy? All he does is sit in a chair. What does this guy do? And it wasn't until Infinity War came out and he's the protagonist and the writing was great and that movie nailed it, that audiences all kind of collectively decided, oh my God, the Infinity Saga is perfect. Wow. They really, stuck the landing.
And all the
So,
things that didn't really work,
yeah,
they kinda just forgot
wow.
about. Yeah.
It does actually. It all works. It's
Yeah.
like, so, and I think Marvel Studios knows that. And I think since the pivot from Kang, for real world reasons and also story reasons, maybe they're like, this isn't working. I think that they bringing back the writers who did Infinity War and Endgame, bringing back the directors, frankly, it's just like, we need this to be awesome,
And that really
right?
is what it feels
Yes.
like. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
it's and maybe, and there's also been speculation that this is gonna be Kevin Feige's like last hurrah, and he's gonna just kind of I mean,
What's he
who
gonna do?
knows?
Run Star Wars? Where's he gonna go?
I
What's
don't
he
know
gonna
where he's
do?
gonna go.
Kevin, don't
He's
leave,
not gonna
Kevin.
retire. He's what, in his 50s? Like, he's
Yeah,
not gonna retire.
you're fine, dude. There's so
Yeah.
many more hats to wear. Kevin, don't leave.
How many logos can you put on
There's
your
so many more
hats?
you don't even know how many more logos, Kevin. They're cooking up logos. You gotta stay.
I think so. Like you, I think there's a huge there's the most pressure on Doomsday by far, absolutely,
Yes.
because a solo Supergirl movie
Yeah.
will work or won't work, but it doesn't have as much writing on it because Supergirl
Yep.
is never going to be the lead of a. And that's not true.
Well,
I shouldn't say that, but is
I
not
I hear you. I hear you.
doesn't have,
Yes.
yeah, like this is only the second movie in the franchise, so it's like,
Mhm.
what was the second movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? It was The Incredible Hulk, and nobody really cares
Right.
about that one.
Or
And people will.
this would be like as if the first like Captain Marvel movie didn't work, and it
Right.
it did for the most part. I mean, it's not.
Yeah,
I don't think it's too many people's favorite MCU movie.
it's
I
my
do know.
mom's favorite.
Yeah, I do know some. I was gonna say I do know some people who actually they do cite it as their favorite. Um, it still made $1 billion. The
Yeah,
momentum was there, but like it's not like they weren't gonna put her in Endgame. It's
right.
not like that train wasn't already moving. So Supergirl, I think, it could be a comparable character to like a Carol Danvers. But
Mm,
Doomsday is another beast, man. It's wrapping up the X-Men stuff.
yeah,
It is, I think, having to finally prove once and for all why audiences should have been on board or should care even a little about the multiverse saga. What does it
mhm,
mean? And I think Spider-Verse did it. The animated movies that actually show what another universe could mean storytelling wise. I think Peacemaker season 2 did it. Like James Gunn knows how sick people are of the multiverse, and he did it for his second season of Peacemaker because it's a Wonderful Life. It's about going into an, or if
right.
I can borrow my favorite version of that, Shrek Forever After. It's about our favorite characters going into a reality where it's like, whoa, what if this was my life?
Right.
And it could be really bad or it could be really good, which could be really bad. And or reality's getting snuffed out and characters that you love. I mean, if if these movies like erase the X-Men universe, we're kind of already prepped for that,
Right.
right? But like if the movies also tell us like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man universe gone, he's
Right.
dead. Like audiences are going to be like, "Damn, dude, that's
Yeah.
it's the same way that Avengers got dusted." And my dad texted me opening weekend, "Did Thanos really do that?" And I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah." So that's where that opportunity is for the multiverse to mean something and for audiences to walk out of there and go, "Damn, dude, the multiverse is crazy. The stakes could have never been higher." And then be excited for the next one and then everything wraps up and heroes save the day.
Yeah. I I wish there was one more, um,
Multiverse
fan
movie?
yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
need more than that. No, I
Yeah.
wish there was 1 or 2 more Fantastic Four movies before this.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
I like that crew of people so much, and obviously, I think they're gonna be in more stuff going forward. They're not gonna just snuff out the Fantastic Four. They
right.
just introduce them. But I do think that, like, I wish there was more time, I think. And I also kind of think that they have been. I think what a lot of people have been annoyed about, especially with Phase 5 and a good chunk of Phase 6 so far. Well, I
Mhm.
guess there hasn't really been that much. 4 and 5 is what I meant.
Mhm.
Is that it's all just been sort of like, well, I don't know what we're gonna, like there's a
Totally.
setup for things that doesn't seem to ever be paid. I was all geared up for a Young Avengers something, and
I
now it's
know.
like it doesn't
I
seem like
know.
that's gonna happen.
I
And I'm
know.
worried that, they're saying that like, Daredevil season 2 is not going to connect really or have anything to do with Doomsday, but it's like if
Yeah.
you if you reset the entire universe, like how could it not sort of thing?
Mhm.
Like, are you just going to go
Yeah.
on as though that never happened in this version? So I think
Is
that
it
that will do more harm than just like I don't know what, but
it potentially could, especially with the Doctor Doom of everything, which we haven't talked about yet, but
mhm,
going back to Daredevil, it's like, do you do a whole season of that grounded show in New York, and then at the end, Daredevil, like, hears things and looks around, and then the universe ends?
yeah,
Like, and then it's sort of like, stay tuned, like, to be continued in Avengers Doomsday, out this Christmas.
right,
And then when that movie comes out, you kind of plug it into the timeline and go, okay, Daredevil season 2. I mean, it sounds silly, but really, this is what happened with Peacemaker, right?
mhm,
Peacemaker season 1 was in one universe, and it had an ending connected to the larger world with Jason Momoa Aquaman, and then things changed, and then Peacemaker season 2 opened with, okay, remember that thing we showed you kind of happened, but here's how it's different. And
yeah,
that's crazy, but like that's what comic books did too. You know, a lot of comic books sort of ended their runs right before Secret Wars. The comic came in and sort
Yeah.
of swept up the universe, and then they picked it up after in sort of this new reality, which wasn't really that new, the way I think some people might think it. But it's like, oh, Doctor Doom is now healed. Oh, Miles Morales is in this universe. Like there was things changes here and there, but
Yeah.
would like a Daredevil Born Again season 3 do that, where it's like, and now we return to the MCU sacred timeline, and this is how things are different, right? Like Matt Murdock's like, now there's an X-Men. Okay, so as I was saying, Kingpin, stop being the mayor. I'm gonna
Right.
stop. I don't know,
I don't know
but
either.
the
I
Doctor Doom
recently read
stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
earlier this year I read the Ann Nocenti run of Daredevil from the
Mm,
late 80s, early 90s.
mm.
And
With
I really
Typhoid Mary.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. It is very dark, but there's an issue or two that had to cross over with Inferno.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
was just sort of like this was in the middle of a storyline where Matt Murdock is like
yep,
almost dead or something like that. And
yep,
like there's an issue or so. I'm trying to remember exactly the order, but like where uh um the Human Torch comes in to like try to help in Hell's Kitchen, and he's just like, "Hey, what's going on, everybody?" And
yep,
they're like, "Get out of here,
yeah.
dork!" And then all of a sudden, like the world might end. Oh wait, just kidding,
Hmm.
it didn't. And I find those really interesting because
Oh yeah.
that's what I think it has the potential to be. And obviously DC's done this a lot too. Like I also have been reading the JLA from the 90s, which I've never actually read.
The Grant
Um,
Morrison
the Grant
stuff?
Morrison stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Howard Porter and I'm trying to remember the name of the colorist, but
That's why I love Plastic Man, by the way. That really is the reason.
yeah.
So I really like Plastic Man's awesome in that comic series. Yeah.
But there's like so much of the early part of that run
Hmm.
is, oh well, now Superman has different powers because in this other thing he turned
Yeah.
blue, and it's like, well, now
Yeah.
we have to reflect that, and it's sort of
Ugh.
it. I mean, the worst. I think Grant does a fine job of making
Yes, all things
that
considered.
Superman still makes sense, but
Only only once in a while do one of those like I also love that, by the way. I think it's one of my favorite things is also in retrospect to go back and read like a long running run of
right,
comics, and then you go, "Oh yeah, this had to happen." And
yeah,
only every once in a while do you get, I think back on like the Ed Brubaker Captain America
mm,
where he was really trucking. And then Marvel editorial was like, "Okay, so the thing is House of M is going to destroy reality, so you have to reflect that. And in this new reality, um everybody gets their wish. Like all the superhero characters, Carol Danvers gets to be the most beloved superhero on the planet. Peter Parker is married to Gwen Stacy and has a kid. Like everybody gets their wish. And I think Brubaker was so smart to go, okay, Steve Rogers will have never been frozen. He will be an old man, so he can't be involved in House of M. He's not Captain America anymore. But after the war, he helped the United States as best he could. He was the first man to walk on the moon. He was, you know what I mean? Like he
yeah,
tried to help human mutant relations as things were going in this fictional history, in this new history. And it's a beautiful little heartbreaking issue. And it's a one issue. And then immediately after that, it's like, and now we return to what Captain America was before this thing. And I remember it because of the emotion, but it's rare that a comic like that will. It's usually exactly what you described. You're like, oh hey, Human Torch, get out of here. We
yeah,
were busy. It's
yeah.
great.
Or it's just like, does this work at all? I guess
Yeah.
like, and it just sort of,
But
yeah.
then I have to talk about Doctor Doom real quick
Yes, let's do it. Yes,
because
please.
even though I was coming to the defense of this movie, Avengers Doomsday, and comparing it to like Infinity War, where I'm like, yeah, nothing with Thanos is really working, and then it just worked. I do think it's different to be like, I want the Fantastic Four to be set up for success, and I'm very nervous that Robert Downey Jr. coming back is going to be such a distraction, and it is going to be a big part of the story. And I'm already seeing the internet trying to rationalize it and being like, okay, he Who Remains from Loki, and the Kang variants, like they rewrote history, and now Victor Von Doom is actually Tony Stark, and now he's got different powers, and all this stuff that is just so complex, so potentially overly complex. It would be to me like if at the beginning of the MCU there was no Thanos, no Thanos, no Thanos, and then all of a sudden when Thanos popped up, he's played by Tobey Maguire from like,
Right.
and audiences
Yeah.
would be like, why is it Spider-Man? And then the MCU movies would be like, he's Spider-Man for a reason, keep watching, he's
Right.
Thanos, but it's also played by Tobey Maguire. And you go, what is this? And then after that storyline gets wrapped up, then Josh Brolin would have come in as real Thanos. Think about that for a second, because it's like, okay, that's weird. Why should I care about now the real Thanos you're telling me when you already set up that it's Tobey Maguire as this purple space guy? I'm worried that Robert Downey Jr. as this version of Doctor Doom is not going to be the long running Doctor Doom that I want to have a presence in the MCU, which
Yeah.
just kind of inevitably means that his variant storyline with the face of Tony Stark and the same actor playing him is going to be wrapped up in 2 Avengers movies, which is
Yeah.
great. But then post that, the Fantastic Four, are they staying in their own universe that will be restored? Are they merging? Are they going to get a revelation that, like, oh, actually, we're from the MCU Sacred Timeline, and Doctor Doom there, Victor Von Doom, tried to kill us, destroy us, but Franklin Richards, from the womb, being the universe reality manipulator that he is, whatever he is, put us in a little pocket dimension. That's what happened in the comics.
Hmm.
That is Heroes Reborn. Like Franklin Richards saved, the Fantastic Four and a couple of Avengers characters and put them in this new little universe for a minute for safekeeping. Are we going to get that revelation and then the Fantastic Four get merged, get restored, their memories restored, and then all of a sudden Victor Von Doom looks like it's Javier Bardem? Like it's just a new actor that's like, oh, it's not Robert Downey Jr. That's a
Right.
different guy. It's actually him. And he's in Latveria, and now we're back in the MCU Sacred Timeline. And I'm worried about all of that.
Me too.
So I know that they're bringing on the top tier talent that knocked it out of the park with Infinity War Endgame, but this is a different animal. Doctor Doom is a big distraction thing. He's a character that deserves so much, and I want him to be like a Darth Vader of cinema. Like, he needs to be this all-time villain in the way that Thanos kind of became. But those are the stakes, Kyle. That's what we have to look forward to next year.
Yeah.
Sorry to give you an anxiety attack. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No,
I
there's so many things to like, because
Listen, the
first of
same
all,
thing. The same thing's going to happen with the X-Men, right? I
yeah,
love Hugh
yeah, yeah,
Jackman.
yeah.
I love Ian McKellen, but I want to see the MCU's version of
Me too.
Magneto and Charles Xavier and Logan and all these characters. And what is that going to be?
And I don't want. It's a very strange sort of like. Uh, I understand why they're doing it. Obviously, it's like, hey, we
Right.
have these other universes.
Yeah.
Let's merge them, which is what happened in Secret Wars and everything like that. But like, in order the MCU's multiverse saga has not been doing what the Jonathan Hickman run in the Avengers comics have been
Correct.
doing, which is kind of setting
Correct.
up all this weird stuff, like going
Correct.
back even to his Fantastic Four run,
Mhm.
and because Reed Richards is like a different variant of Reed Richards was the villain basically, who
Mhm.
kind of kickstarted
Yeah.
the whole thing,
And
sort
they're
of
not bringing back Miles Teller to play the Maker, as far as we know,
as
right?
far
Yeah.
as we know. Yeah, I would rather they not do that.
Yeah.
Um, but and also I don't think anyone, like if it was Yoan Griffith, like I don't think
Yeah.
anyone would care. Like
Nope, not the same.
so
Yeah, not the same.
and so I think there's a couple different. So if he is in fact just Victor Von Doom,
Mhm.
he's not a Tony Stark who is wearing Doctor Doom costume for some reason.
Mhm.
Then how, after these two big, huge, giant universe resetting movies, are you then to go back and do like Latvian politics stuff? Like,
I know.
I feel like they're
know.
shooting their shot too early, is what it feels like. They haven't earned Doctor Doom yet.
I don't know. I mean, it's like you're right, and I'm not saying that bringing back Robert Downey is a mistake, because I think, like, hey, his character had a fictional death, and Chris Evans' character had a fictional retirement.
Right.
You do that to absolutely bring them back in a big epic key thing.
Right.
Unfortunately, you can't bring back Chadwick Boseman.
Right.
So I think you don't, and you move forward and you do Shuri, or you do, if you're going to do a multiversal Black Panther, which we haven't talked about yet, which also is rumored. I'm also very nervous about that, because I just, I want all parties involved to be happy with however they map that out. I'm
Mhm.
fine with having Shuri be Black Panther for 2 more movies. And then maybe by then, T'Challa's son that we met in Wakanda Forever will be like 18 years old and be like, I can be the male Black Panther now. I can be, whatever. I'm fine with being patient on that.
Mhm.
Just again, talking about the multiverse of everything, where like, if they do a thing where post Secret Wars, there's a new actor just playing a new T'Challa, I'm not down with that. I don't want that to happen.
Mhm.
I think it takes away from what came before. I also don't want a new actor playing Steve Rogers or a new actor playing Tony Stark.
That's the other thing
I
too,
do not.
and that's
Yeah.
what really makes me hope that they do. So there's obviously a huge number of people who are announced for Doomsday.
Sure.
I think, and there's some glaring omissions, let's just say, from
Sure.
people who are still on the table in terms of Avengers, and even
X-Men,
X-Men,
like
yeah.
Halle Berry Storm, like
Right.
Famke Jensen, Jean Grey, and they're being asked, and they're like, I'm not in it. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
But
We'll
I feel
see,
like,
but
well, you
okay,
guys are
maybe.
probably in Secret Wars then,
Right.
at a
There you
certain
go.
point. And
Deadpool and
like
Wolverine, yeah.
yeah, and Doctor Strange probably, like stuff like that.
Mhm, mhm.
Which is fine. I think there's room for a number of characters to die off in Doomsday, and then
Right.
different characters and whatever. And obviously, like if you read Hickman's Secret Wars, like
Mhm.
like there's a
Oh, yeah.
crazy like all the different like factions and everything like that. I don't know if they're going to go fully into that. Like what is that realm that has like all the different Thor variants are like
Yeah.
the
The Thor core.
the Thor
It's
core, yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Like fun stuff like that, which is very fun and comic booky. And I
Mhm.
would actually love to see something like that. If they're going to do it, like let's go balls to the wall with it.
Mhm.
But like I hope that going forward, they obviously keep some of the actors the same. I don't think all of them need to go away if they don't want to.
Yeah.
But if they do, maybe hold off on reintroducing those characters right away or anything like
Mhm.
that. Like,
Mhm.
you
And
know,
you're
they're
talking about the X-Men specifically.
no, I think X-Men do it now because those like I think that's what phase 7 needs to be basically is the
Right. But
X-Men.
you're
So like
saying if like, for example, Channing Tatum wants to continue playing Gambit, you're saying keep him? Or
I don't
because
know.
I am of the
I don't
mind
think
of recast every
I think
character.
all the X-Men should be recast. Yeah, I agree.
Same. Okay,
Yeah.
same. Same. Then what were
Um
you referring to a second
I
ago
was
when you
referring to
said,
like, you know, if Chris Hemsworth doesn't want to play Thor anymore, don't
"Oh,
reintroduce a brand new Thor right away.
100%." No,
Yeah.
I agree. And I think that if he doesn't want to play Thor anymore, just don't do a Thor movie.
Yeah.
Like
Just don't have Thor for a bit. Yeah.
there's so many that's the thing about the MCU is that I feel like regular audiences might not have the same reading as me where I'm like, I'm a comic book reader. I know how many there's like legitimately like 100 characters that I think are worthy of a movie or a TV
Mhm.
show or a story. Now, Marvel Comics will tell you we have 6,000 characters. Yeah, but they're also including, villains and supporting characters and but I'm like,
Right.
there's like a solid, like, there's tens and
Yeah.
tens and tens of characters that you can do this stuff with. And I don't want to see well, we need an Iron Man in the mix. I'm like, you got Ironheart.
Right.
Well, we need like a Hulk. Yeah, you got She-Hulk and Banner still in the mix, and you can
Yeah.
do something with Abomination. And so,
And you can do Amadeus Cho for God's
oh
sake.
my
Like just do
gosh,
all sorts of
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
There's so many legacy characters, but even if you kind of like chafe at that of going, well, not everything should be legacy characters. Again, we've been talking. We still have not really gotten into the Fantastic Four or the X-Men. They
Right.
just started,
And
and they're about to start. That's the main thing. Yeah,
that's really what and like and there are people who are going to show up in Doomsday
yeah,
for the only the second time, which I'm really excited about, like Namor and
yeah.
Shang-Chi. And I'm just looking at the cast
I
list.
mean, the Thunderbolts and the
The
Fantastic
Thunderbolts,
Four, like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Sentry is only coming back for the second time, and,
Yeah.
yeah, I want so many of those characters to also succeed and to have long lives in the MCU, and yeah, it's really cool to see that cast list and to think about which of those characters are gonna interact, and, um, I was just reading for whatever reason, I was just reading, the first appearance of Black Panther just last night. And it's the Fantastic Four visiting Wakanda for the first time.
Mm,
And then I started thinking, I'm like, dude, it would be so cool if the Pedro Pascal and the Fantastic Four like went to the MCU's Wakanda and met Shuri and Okoye and you know what I mean? And M'Baku. And I'm like, I would love to see this like 60s retro future aesthetic, quartet looking around and being like, this place looks pretty nice, Slim. Like, hey, Stretch, have you look at this building? Look, get a load of that.
yeah.
That stuff would be so great. So anyway, yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities.
There's a lot of possibilities. And I think like you're right, they did get the right people involved to do this thing. And if so, I have two thoughts about it. One is if it is going to be a big send off for a lot of this stuff, and we're going
Mhm,
to basically reboot this time the X-Men exist in this universe and like all
mhm,
this stuff that I actually don't think they need to do, but if they
mhm.
feel like they want to do it or need to do it, that's fine.
Sure.
Then make it a clean break as much as possible, which is not to say
Yeah,
recast everybody, but make the storylines clean. Make it like,
yeah,
here we go
yep,
again. Do some stuff that you haven't done before,
mhm.
like go back to some of the early, whatever. Even if it's some of the older actors, like I said, like the um like
The
if Scott Lang
Hemsworths.
wants to remain, if
Yeah,
Paul Rudd wants, it's like I don't care if Scott Lang continues or anything like that. Like there are certain people that I think should be recast eventually, but not now.
Be specific, and you're talking just X-Men? Like,
N No, no, no.
or
Okay.
are you talking Tony Stark, Steve Rogers?
Yeah, but not for, like, a long, long time. Like, I
Uh,
don't think like because eventually you have to eventually have something like that, but there are other like, I agree, like, Ironheart is
but I think
gonna do that.
that's where I am
Iron
different than
Lad,
I
and then
think that's
bring Kang back.
where right. And then he just like in the comic books, and then this young Tony Stark alternate universe variant just merges with older Tony Stark and
Right.
becomes, has shares all the memories. I
Comic
think
books
that
are weird.
they are. I think that's where I differ than everybody else on the planet, Kyle, is that you just said too. You just said you're like, well, you're going to have to at some point do XYZ character again. And I think my brain is going, no, man, I really think we should never do Tony Stark ever again. He's not James Bond. You know what I mean? I don't
Mm.
ever want to see, for so many reasons. Least of all, I'm
But if you
like,
reboot the universe, do you know what I
sure,
mean? Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
uh,
Then it's a clean slate. But again, I think that rebooting the universe is, and to declare it that way, and to go, okay, everything that came before is effectively not canon anymore, is it comes with so much baggage. It's very tricky. It's not exactly the same as like, okay, Peacemaker season 1 pretty much happened except for a couple of details.
right,
Because I think if you do a clean reboot and you go, okay, from the back to the beginning of Iron Man 1, and even further back technically with like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies or the Wesley Snipes Blade movies, nothing ever happened. It's all done. And now here's a new universe, a bunch of the same actors, a bunch of the same story. We're going to give you a fifth Thor movie, but it's like Thor was never like, what are we doing? Are we going back to
yeah.
like, is he now Don Blake? Is he like learning the lesson from Odin again? Are we just jumping in and being like, I've been around, but here's a brand new story.
That is a huge yeah, that's a good point because I think part of the big issue with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is that they tried to redo so much of what was like, we already seen this before.
We've already seen it before.
Yeah,
And
and pretty
again,
recently too, yeah.
even if we do something like in this reboot, if we keep this thought experiment, it's like the Guardians of the Galaxy. Did none of the three movies happen? Are we
Right,
just Zoe Saldana is now Gamora again, like she never died? Or is she the Gamora that is with the Ravagers? Or
right.
did Rocket Raccoon never
Yeah,
go
there's
through
that's a
his
lot of
journey?
stuff, like
It's so much baggage, and it's so much, not to mention the optics of like, Sam Wilson, you're Falcon again. Like, what are we doing? Like, oh, there's just two Captain Americas. Why is he also Captain America? What's the story there? Well, we saw it. Well, that's a clean reboot. So
right.
how did like Sam Wilson become Captain America, standing shoulder to shoulder with Steve Rogers Captain America? And realistically, in that setting, who's going to get the movie greenlit? It's going to be Chris Evans Captain. Like it's good. It's like,
Yeah,
sorry, Mackie. So yes, there's. So I
yeah,
say no reboot. But I mean the easiest. Again, I'm also kind of going just back to the comics, because when people use this example, they go, well, Marvel Comics rebooted. And I go, how? Explain it to me. And they go, okay, well, Miles Morales. And I go, yeah, explain it to me. That's one aspect that they really fudged and cheated, to be like, Miles and his family are now in the main comics universe. And yet the stuff that he went through kind of still happened, but then maybe
yeah,
his mom wasn't killed by Venom, and now his mom is here. Okay, but what does that mean exactly? Well, there was also the weirdness of like, because he came from another universe, the first time regular Peter Parker met Miles Morales and came back over to the regular Marvel universe. I should stop saying regular, and I should start saying like 616 to
sure.
not be confusing. So 616 Peter, think about like that Jake Johnson version, right? 616 Peter goes and meets Miles for the first time. I just reread this like a month or two ago. Awesome. Very similar to the Spider-Verse movie at times. He pops back over after meeting Miles and being like, Miles is a great kid. He pops back over to the 616 regular comics universe. And the first thing he does is he goes, huh, if there was a Peter in that universe and he died, and then Miles is there, and I'm over here, I wonder if there's a Miles in my universe. And he looks up and there is a Miles Morales in the regular universe. And after the Secret Wars merging and like teenager Miles Morales, 13-year-old kid came over, that other Miles still existed. And they kind of did some storylines and stuff with it. So when I look at the landscape of stuff right now, I go, I think the only thing that would qualify as like, we're going to merge it, would be Fantastic Four,
Right.
because you're not going to bring over animated Miles Morales,
No.
from the Spider-Verse movies to all of a sudden be like, now he's in the MCU. Like, there's no point in doing that. His movies are fine. His story is great. Leave him there. And the MCU already established Donald Glover being like, hey, I got a nephew who lives here. that nephew is the Miles reference.
Right.
And right. And when he said that in the year 2016, even though the movie came out in 2017, I'm getting into the timeline. The point is that character, the Prowler, he popped up in the Spider-Verse animated movies. He was the full-blown Prowler. When he goes back, if he goes back to the regular MCU, his nephew could have been 2 when he said that. His nephew could have been 13. His nephew could be close in age to Tom Holland, Peter Parker, or many years apart.
Right.
But there's enough time to like for the MCU to do its own version of Miles. The only other, I mean, there's a couple other things I think, but the only other thing I mentioned it earlier, Doctor Doom had a healed face after Secret Wars. Like that's kind of it. And then he became, like I'm a good guy now. I'm a businessman and I'm doing business with Tony Stark and da 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 da. I don't think any of the like net wins post comic book Secret Wars are worth chasing in like the movie landscape. Again,
Mm,
maybe you merge Fantastic Four, but people seem to really like the 60s world. That's a whole bunch of baggage we've talked about before with Fantastic Four, Kyle, where I'm like, you merge them, does their universe disappear?
right.
What's their version of Galactus? I know that we had the Shala Ball Silver Surfer and fans might want Norrin Rad, but I'm like, what's their Shala Ball? What happens to that universe? What happens to
Hmm.
the Fantastic Four Foundation, the Future Foundation, all those characters? What happens to what's her name who was flirting with Ben Grimm? Did they all never exist? Do they all merge? Do they all, there's just it's baggage that if we want clean, like I think the easiest thing to do, honestly, would be that little comic book example with Peter Parker looking it up. After our Avengers characters go and meet the X-Men and they meet Charles Xavier, like Professor X, and they meet Magneto and Logan and all this stuff. If the Avengers come back to the MCU, if it's all the dust is settled and everything is normal, if Peter Parker literally looks up Charles Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters and there's one in upstate New York, and
Right.
it's like, oh, we have our own here. We just never, they're secret.
Right.
They're underground. They've been hidden. They're trying not to be public, but we do have a Charles Xavier who's active. I mean, Peter tried to look up Norman Osborn, or rather, sorry, Norman Osborn looked up Norman Osborn,
Hmm.
couldn't find him. That's interesting. Willem Dafoe tried to look up himself, couldn't find him. But what does that mean? Did Willem Dafoe really try? Is he lying? Is he, is Norman Osborn, does he have a different last name? The same way that like MJ is Michelle Jones, not
Right.
Mary Jane Watson, but she's MJ. So
Right.
like, is Norman Osborn going to be like, hi, I go by Oz, like, something like just little things like that where you go, why, where is Norman Osborn? If he's not as established as he was in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man with an Oscorp, is he a low-level engineer at Stark? Is
Hmm.
he working for AIM? Is he like, where is he? And what can we do with that story? I think the same thing can happen with the X-Men, that like everybody comes back and then they're talking about it. And Nick Fury, Sam Jackson's like, oh yeah, I know Logan. I know Logan. He's an agent who worked for me 10 years ago. What? How come we never talked about it? Because he's a secret agent who worked for me 10 years ago. I'm not going
Right.
to tell you everything. People
Also,
didn't
he's in
know.
Canada. Like,
Yeah, he's a Canadian agent. He's like, people don't know I'm married. I don't tell you everything. Like,
yeah.
you could do that kind of stuff. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think it would be easier and cleaner than now the universe is like fully established X-Men is just here.
No, yeah, that is true. Like that is going to be that is a
Crazy.
tough sell. That's a tough sell to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's also so many young X-Men or early X-Men stories that
Just
are
do
worth
that.
telling that they
Yeah.
haven't done in the Vox universe that I think would be better served. Like there's who even knows if this is true and stuff like that, but a lot of the scuttlebutt about the early, I think it's Matt Shackman, right, is doing the X-Men. No, is it him?
No, it's the director from
Um,
Thunderbolts.
yes, whose
Mm-hmm.
name escapes me at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but is working on the X-Men movie. And it's going to maybe focus on like Scott Summers and his family and stuff like that. I think it's like cool, let's
Great.
do it. Like
Great. Great.
because the Summers clan is the most interesting kind of like, or one of the many most interesting like,
Mm-hmm.
um, and the Guthries. Those are like the two that every member is a mutant and they all have amazing powers and stuff.
And the Rasputins. But no,
And
you're right. It's like
that's true.
I don't want to jump right back into I frankly don't need it. I already got my fill. I don't need a Channing Tatum Gambit movie.
Honestly,
I don't
yeah.
need him to keep playing the character. I'd rather Gambit. No shade to Channing Tatum. He's a little bit older now. He's getting
Yeah.
up there, even though he looks like Magic Mike. But I want Gambit to be around the same age as Rogue. And I want
Mhm.
Gambit and Rogue to be in their mid 20s, early 30s when the rest of the X-Men are X-Men.
Right.
And I want the rest of the X-Men to build up to that. Imagine a world where a Tom Holland age actor is cast as Scott, Jean, Hank, Bobby, Warren. And then we spend 10 years with those guys. And they're maybe not in the second movie, but then that's when you bring in Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Wolverine. I was thinking this because I'm rewatching Stranger Things, and the actress Sadie Sink, who's going to be in Spider-Man, and people are like, is she going to be Gwen Stacy? I don't know if it's been officially announced. We're kind of hoping she would be Jean Grey. And when you watch something like Stranger Things and there's teenage actors playing teenagers, and it's the same thing that happened with Logan, right? Where I'm watching and it's Laura being X-23. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
she's a child. Get her out of this situation. It's different than when you read a comic book and the Claremont X-Men run is like, they're all late teens, early 20s. But then Wolverine looks 40 and he's like falling in love with Jean Grey. We're not going to do that. We don't need to do that.
No.
Maybe we don't need to do that. But I would rather have a younger actor play somebody like Jean Grey and play her for 10 years or more. They deserve it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and that's really like all of these questions that we don't even know, because as we're recording this, the X-Men, or no, abort, the Avengers Doomsday trailer has not dropped, and I think that
Right.
like it's meant to drop relatively soon.
Right.
But
I thought you were about to scare me right now, Kyle, because I thought you were about to say, like, while we're recording this, they just dropped a trailer for X-Men. Something crazy. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Hang on.
That
They
would've
just
been
announced the entire
bananas.
direction of Phase 7. Okay, that would have been bananas. Yeah.
It actually, like, that scared me enough that I want to look at. Okay, no one's talking about it in our Slack, so it's fine.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nerdist Slack.
I really wanted to, because that would have been bananas.
Yeah, breaking news, actually.
Breaking news.
Yeah, the other rumor,
yeah.
too, that like Marvel Studios wants to have Hugh Jackman return as Wolverine post Secret Wars. I don't buy that for a second, and I don't think it should happen.
No, leave.
Yes.
It's you, and that's the thing. It's like, stop trying to have your cake and eat it too. Like,
Right.
it's
Right.
people always say, people misuse that term, and this is something that bothers me. Misuse of idioms drives me nuts. The reason people say have your cake and eat it too is simply because one cannot do that. You can attempt to do it, but it is impossible. And so when people say he's having his cake and eating it too, no, he isn't, because he can't.
Because he's eating the cake.
Because he's eating the cake, and then he can't have it if he's eating it. That's the whole point. So, but the attempt to do it is the fallacy. Like, you shouldn't try to do that. And so, like, if you want to reboot the X-Men, if you want to have younger versions of all the X-Men,
reboot them,
or your own person, like, not tied to the X-Men, the Fox universe, then let Hugh Jackman be done. Like,
and it's very different than, they brought back J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons. I'm like, yeah, but that's different. Or, they brought back Judi Dench as M. That's very different. With comic book universes, you need a clean reboot.
Yeah.
We saw how confused people were at the beginning of Peacemaker season 2. We're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Hawk Girl was there instead? Like, you need that cleanness, and James Gunn knows that. So you need it.
Yeah. And that's really what I'm hoping for. Like, I think more than anything, like, I think Doomsday has the potential to be a huge mess.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of pressure on it for that reason. Like, yes, it needs to make a lot of money and like all the stuff that financially makes sense for Marvel, but it also has the potential to just not work as a film because there's too much stuff in it. And then we have to wait until 2027 to see what happens with Secret Wars and stuff like that. And like, there's meant to be a Daredevil Born Again season 3 that happens in between. What? Like, how is that going to work? Like, all this stuff that, like, I just don't know. And I think that they've spent too long making us care about the continuity of the MCU for us to suddenly not care about the continuity of the MCU.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
But I am all for things not directly referencing stuff. Like, I think that was one of the biggest downfalls of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. early on, was just like constantly talking about what happened in the movies.
Yeah.
Hey, isn't it weird we have to pick up from this giant battle in New York? Like, it's just dumb. But
and then the timeline for that even ended up being changed, because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode 1 was like, Tony Stark dealt with the extremist soldiers and we're still dealing with that. And then a couple of weeks later, they're like, oh, there was a big battle in London with Thor and Thor the Dark World, and we're picking up the pieces for that. And then they swapped the order of that. Now, in the official MCU timeline, Thor the Dark World happens first, and then Tony deals with Iron Man 3 stuff that Christmas, like a little bit later in that fall, that Christmas of that year. But all this to say, I think you're right. I think that Marvel Studios has been for the most part, very careful about their timeline.
Yes.
And I think that they can still be. So, yes, even though we have, look, we had two movies released in between Infinity War and Endgame, and they were Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel. And those were kind of flashbacks because Ant-Man and the Wasp was like, this takes place a week before. But
Right.
then the
Right.
very end had them dusted and caught us up. And technically was a little bit post Infinity War. So we were good. Same thing with Captain Marvel. The whole movie takes place in 1995, and then at the end, she shows up. Where's Fury? And it's a little bit after Infinity War. So like they could do, like I mentioned earlier, some kind of a credit thing to accurately place Daredevil Born Again season 2 or just not. And maybe Daredevil Born Again season 3 will be the thing that like, oh, as we're watching season 3 we go, Doomsday hasn't happened yet. Doomsday hasn't happened yet.
Right.
This is still taking place in the fictional year of 2027 during that tumultuous time in New York when,
Mhm.
when Daredevil was fighting Kingpin. And then we can line everything up and then Disney Plus will put it on their timeline there in the correct order and then Bob's your uncle. But it's a weird nebulous time right now because
Yeah.
we're like, what is gonna happen? Yeah,
Because at this point, Daredevil Born Again season 2 is supposed to God, where's I have so
I
many
think
tabs
out.
open.
I think it's next year before Spider-Man,
It
even
is.
because
So,
Spider-Man's
like,
in July. Yeah,
so if they I mean, because as it stands right now, the Punisher is in a cage. So, like,
yeah.
they
And the
need to figure.
Punisher special is coming out, supposed to be next year, also before Spider-Man. I think,
Yes.
and I don't
That
know if
is
they shot
not
it. I
on
don't know.
the
Okay.
list here, but I think it's yeah, it's still definitely meant to happen. Also, Vision Quest is supposed to happen
Oh
uh,
yeah, interesting.
either right before or right after Doomsday. I think it's because Doomsday is going to be late. I think
Christmas. Yeah,
that's Christmas. So I'm
and
assuming it'll come out earlier than that.
Wonder Man is coming out in January, and I, as a citizen of Los Angeles, am really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
As somebody who like
Yeah, we didn't even
has,
mention Wonder Man.
I've got actors in my life. I know actors. That's going to hit real close to home, and I'm really looking
I
forward to
think
it.
that has the
Yeah,
potential to be very, very fun.
very fun.
I don't even know, and honestly, I don't even care, but
Anything about it?
I don't
Yeah,
know if he's meant to be an actual superhero or if he's just
right.
an actor. Like,
We're
and I
gonna find
don't
out.
care. I
Yeah,
guess it's fun. I think that'll
yeah,
be fun, and I'm looking forward to that.
yeah.
Um, and also like Yahya Abdul Mateen 2.
So good,
He's
so
so
good.
good, and
Yeah.
I'm just excited for him to be, because I think he was like a really good choice to play Black Manta, and it's
Yep.
just a bummer that that second Aquaman movie isn't good.
Yep. And
Um,
he's an amazing Dr. Manhattan, Damon Lindelof,
very much
Maybe
so.
he'll be recast in something else in the DC universe as well. Who knows? But yeah, maybe Simon Williams will have a big role in future Avengers stuff because he's an all-timer Avenger character, so we'll see.
Yeah. But I do want to kind of like quickly shout out a few things in Vision Quest. There's obviously Ultron is supposedly coming back. Not
Yeah,
supposedly, he is
what?
coming back. Bizarre.
Crazy.
Also Yocasta is supposed to be like all of and Edith, like
Yeah,
all of the
all the AIs.
Friday, Doom, Dumb E. Sorry.
I
Uh
wanted to see Karen, who was in Spider-Man: Homecoming, voiced by Jennifer Connelly. I wanted
right.
her to get a body, and I asked Paul Bettany about this during the press junket, I think for WandaVision, and I was like, "Can we get Jennifer Connelly in a human body?" And he's like, "That would be great." But I don't think she's in the show at all. I
Does
think
not
that's the
appear
one
to have been
AI.
happening,
Yeah.
but
Yep. But Friday is cool. Joe Costa's cool. All that stuff's cool. Yeah.
and they have cast somebody to play Tommy Maximov.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's interesting.
Yep.
Also, Paladin's supposed to be in it. Did I mention that? Like
Oh
Todd,
yeah, Todd
Todd
Stashwick.
Stashwick.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
So
Paladin.
that
All right.
weird random characters.
Yeah.
Um, Farhan Tahir is going to play Raza, the leader of the
Yeah,
Ten
he's
Rings
come because
faction.
he's coming back from Iron Man 1. That's
Yeah,
right, I forgot about that.
I like all the
That's
stuff that
cool.
I like that they do stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
Like seeing what's his name come back as like one of the student body heads at MIT in Ironheart. Like actor from Community, he came back in Ironheart at the beginning because remember he was in Captain America: Civil War. He was talking to Tony
oh
Stark
yeah,
for 2 seconds. I do love that stuff.
I
Yeah.
let they're just like, well, hey, let's just bring this guy back,
Yeah.
and that was part of the fun of friggin' Doctor. No, what am I talking about? Captain America, the Winter Soldier, is that like all of these
Yes.
senators and just people who are around. It's like,
Oh,
hey,
right,
they're in
right, right.
Hydra. It's like that's fun. I enjoyed
Yeah.
that.
That's great.
But that was forever ago. Before
Yeah.
all of the stuff. So anyway, all of this we've sort of been just talking around, and then X-Men '97 is coming
Yeah.
back, and I'm super jazzed
Solid.
about that. I think that is like the pure X-Men stuff that I was like really looking forward to. That's
Sure.
where they can go super weird and comic booky.
Yep.
I think they need to be a little bit more, although I love the weird cosmic X-Men stuff. I kind of want
Yep.
weird cosmic X-Men movie stuff. I want the Starjammers in a movie eventually. We talked about this. We did an episode about that
We
last year,
did.
I
I'm
think, of
sure
like
we
the
did.
things we want.
And I said,
Mojoverse,
yeah, and I was like, no,
Starjammers.
not at first. I
No,
said,
no, no,
let's
no,
take
no.
our time.
Eventually. Can't start with Mojoverse. That would be
Uh-huh.
crazy.
But what a great twist to basically be like, here's Scott Summers. Here's a new, really great actor. He's playing him. Here he is for the first movie. Here's for the second movie. In the third movie, his dad is basically Star-Lord.
Yeah.
His dad, who we thought was dead, is like a very slutty space captain up in the stars. Like,
Yeah.
what? And his best friend is named Chode. What is this? This is crazy.
A big
Let's
giant
do
lizard
it.
named Chode.
He's probably shacking up with this Catwoman named Hepzibah, and that's what's happening in space.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I really love all the Starjammer stuff. Gosh, that's fun.
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to do? Like, obviously, there's a lot of really great post, Dark Phoenix saga stuff
Mhm.
worth doing.
Mhm.
But like, like the Brood saga, would they
Mhm.
do stuff like that? Or, I feel like there's lots
I
of
think
room
so.
for that stuff. I
I
think
think
they could.
most sagas and comic books can be whittled down to like a movie.
Sure.
But I think I've said this pitch before, is that just specifically about the X-Men, I think that if this next 3 phases, if it went Infinity Saga, Multiverse Saga, truly if they just committed to it and went, this next one's called the Phoenix Saga, that they could take time building out and going, here's Jean Grey as a high schooler.
Yeah.
She's 16 years old. And then the next time you see her in a movie, she's Marvel Girl or she's Phoenix. And she, and then they do a truncated version of the comic storyline, but obviously more expanded than the one movie they would
Right.
take to try to tell the story in the past, previous 2 times. But then include the space cosmic stuff and include, the Shi'ar and include all
Yeah.
of that stuff could be really cool to be like, you know what? Actually, at the end, we're not fighting Magneto or Apocalypse or Doctor Doom. He's not going to be the big bad of this universe, but it will be Jean Grey herself. It will be
Mhm.
the Phoenix Force. It will be the thing that can threaten all of Earth. And how will everybody deal with that? And I think that would be amazing. But a lot of moving parts for that.
Yeah, and I think that's a great
yeah.
that's a great call. Like, make it an entire saga unto itself,
Yeah.
because that is really. I know you and I have talked about this offline before, but like,
Mhm.
I think the Dark Phoenix saga works because of the Phoenix saga, and then post
Mhm.
the Phoenix saga, you have years of her actually just having the Phoenix Force and just being a
Yes.
good person and having
Yes.
this amazing force and stuff like that.
Mhm.
The downfall has to come after like a rise, like that's what the whole
Yes.
Phoenix is about.
So you take three phases to tell something like that and to take your
Yeah,
time with it. I think that it would pay off more after years of audiences falling in love with Jean Grey and Scott Summers, so that at the end, when she destroys a planet as the Dark Phoenix and then is remorseful about it and then, sacrifices herself in front of Scott or whatever, like all of that stuff is going to be heartbreaking, or versions of that, instead of here's Femke Jensen, she went evil in this one movie and we killed off James Marsden in the beginning of the film, and now she's standing next to Hugh Jackman and he needs to kill her.
right.
Different thing you're trying to
Yeah.
get from an audience versus what the comic book sort of did and their whole lives,
Yeah. And let's just not talk about the Dark Phoenix movie.
I mean, I'll say this, that Hans Zimmer score rips. It's
I-
one of my favorite X-Men movie scores. It's really good.
It is really good.
And that movie's only like an hour and a half, I feel like.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like a
real
pretty
short.
short movie.
I also don't hate the New Mutants movie. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I don't like
I think
how
it's imperfect, but I think it's
Yes. Yeah,
I think
you're right. I don't like how magic is blatantly racist, but yes, it's
I
it's
know.
pretty cool at times. Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots
Yeah,
of cool
yeah.
stuff in it. I also think if you're going to keep somebody who you've already cast, like
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy should be Magic. She's perfect
Mhm.
for that.
Unless you want to do the thing, Kyle, where you want to take your time
Yeah,
introducing
have her be a child
Colossus
and everything. Yep.
and then have her be a little kid.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
But that's a real dark story. Like
It is.
the miniseries
It is.
Magic is really dark.
It is. It is. Don't do that. Don't
Don't
do
do
all
it.
of that. Don't do a one-to-one. Hey, listen, the MCU did not do Hank Pym domestic abuser. They stayed away from that. So there's definitely a precedent for Marvel Comics being left in the past and then doing some new, well,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to cut ourselves off, Kyle. We can
Yeah, we
keep,
are. We've
because
been
I'm
doing
like,
this for a
am
long
I
time.
about to talk about the Rasputins? I could dive into it, but
Yes.
no, I will not. I think I hit
Yeah.
everything I wanted to
We
say,
will
so
have
thank
plenty
you.
of time to talk about X-Men coming forward and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, Hector, as always, thank you so much for coming on and just jabbering about comic books forever.
Jabber, jabber.
Honestly, if you ever want to come on and talk about something that isn't comic books,
I
you're
can't
oh,
legally,
okay. I guess that's
contractually,
true.
am not allowed to do that.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
that's fair.
I have a contract with Marvel and DC Comics, and I can only make appearances talking about their stuff.
Very funny and true. What please plug things you got, Heroes Reforged, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah. Check me out on YouTube at Heroes Reforged. And by the time this came out, you can go back and check some recent interviews we did with the director of Predator Badlands. Dan Trachtenberg was nice enough to come back to our show. And we chatted with him for about an hour about that movie and went into spoilers. And it was awesome. And he's great. So that would be great if you could check out that interview. And thanks so much for having me, Kyle. This is
Of
so fun.
course.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And you are Hector is funny, I believe, on all the
that's right.
social platforms. Yes.
That's right.
You can follow me on Letterboxd at Kyle_Anderson to see all the weird movies. I actually just recently rewatched the 1997 Spawn movie.
Ooh.
And I
1 star, 2 stars.
I liked it better than I remember liking it. It's still not good, I think is the
Sure.
main takeaway there. But
Mhm,
it's an
mhm,
interesting failure, I think, of a movie.
mhm.
But anyway, that's one of the many things I've been watching. Also rewatched the Mortal Kombat movie from the 90s, and I think that one holds up
Mm.
pretty well. So,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, great ending song for those credits, right?
oh
Amazing.
yeah. When techno really ripped was the 90s, I think. Anyway, thank you all for listening. I've been Kyle Anderson. Join me again next week on Laser Focus when my guest will be a different person. Bye-bye. Laser Focus is a production of Nerdist Industries and Legendary Digital Networks. It was produced, edited, and hosted by me, Kyle Anderson. For more, visit nerdist.com.